Hello friends, I'm going to make some tools today, but not for woodworking. As much as I love this craft, there are days when I just don't have the energy to get on the bike and come out here. So I make sure that I have some projects I can work on at home in my tiny apartment as well. I've been wanting to try to sculpt some figurines from polymer clay. That's not what this video is about, but looking at some YouTube videos on people who sculpt with polymer clay, it seems that there are 3 tools I should make. So I have this piece of beech. It's a very hard wood. First up is a rolling pin, and I'm going to rough shape it a little bit with a scrub plane before I take it over to the foot-powered lathe. I don't have a fantastic way of getting a long workpiece aligned in this lathe, but I can do it fairly accurately by eye, by using the workpiece and the lathe itself as sort of winding sticks, and by positioning my eye so that this line and that line comes very close. I can see as I'm slowly spinning the chuck if it's out of alignment. And these sides were of course just scrub planes, so they are not super accurate, but I think this is good enough for what I'm doing. So this is starting to get pretty close to what I'm looking for, and it is a quite smooth surface actually. I am getting better at this, but there's definitely some tool marks remaining, and any imperfections in the surface are going to transfer into the clay. So I need to make sure this is perfect, and at my current wood turning skill level, that's gonna have to mean sanding. I'm going to start with a very coarse paper, 60 grit, and then work my way up. So this is done, it just needs finish. I'm going to finish all 3 tools at once when they are done. I could keep working with this big block, but I'd rather keep that for something larger and use this smaller scrap instead. So I think I'm happy with this shape. It's going to be held in a pencil grip like that. I think this is going to work quite well. I'm just going to sand it with my coarsest sandpaper now because I need to carve it out of the lathe, so I won't bother making it a super smooth surface at this stage. Just try to get the tool marks out. And through the magic of editing, there is now 2. So I have 4 ends that I can shape to different tools. And what I want to make is a pair of sort of small spatulas with rounded ends, one slightly smaller, one slightly larger. So that's one of them. And for the other one, I want to do sort of spear points, one straight spear point and one that is at a little bit of an angle. I'm going to start with the rounded spatulas, I think. So I've carved one end of the spear point tool, but I realized I can actually do a lot more of that work on the lathe. So I have taped up the tip and used a thick curl from the scrub plane to protect the finished surface. So here's how the first end held up, the end that was in the chuck. Tiny bit of bruising there from the jaws and a couple of very small nicks here, but that'll scrape out pretty easily. The other end is now much closer to where it needs to be, and I can finish it off with a bit of carving. I thought I would try to show the difference between a scraped and a sanded surface. This one is straight off the card scraper and this one has also been sanded. And I think you can see how the sanded one is sort of cloudy. The grain is a little bit obscured, more faint, while the scraped one has just a little bit more luster. It's very subtle, but I do prefer the scraped look. But it is not perfectly round. You always get facets from a card scraper, and I do want these to be round. So I'm going to go through the grits and get to 1000 like the rolling pin. And now I'm just going to buff them with some beeswax, my homemade beeswax and linseed oil finish, mostly to prevent the wood from absorbing moisture out of the clay. I don't really know how big a problem that would actually be, but it feels like something that could happen, and this should prevent it. And it makes them look a little bit shinier. And here they are in action. I'm not going to make videos on sculpting, it's not something I'm pursuing, just a bit of relaxing, low stakes creating, but I will say these tools are working very well for me. If you are interested in the results, I might post something on Instagram. It's mostly my woodworking on there, so you will find sneak peeks on the video projects as well, but I also post occasionally about other things like this or small home improvement builds and generally things that don't fit on the channel. Anyway, next video will probably be a quick project for a customer, and after that I've got a new major piece of furniture to make. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.